Should I look in directly here or?
I would just talk to the class.
Okay, all right, it all picks up. Okay.
Talk to the class.
All right, no problem.
Hello. Thanks everyone for coming today, and I want to welcome Councilmember Anthony Phillips here, who's candidate for re-election to City Council for District 9 here in Philadelphia. And we have students from my social science class here at Central High School who are going to be asking some questions. All right, would you like to say a few words of introduction?
Absolutely. So, as I said earlier, I love this. It's really important that students are involved in the civic process. Prior to City Council, I started a nonprofit called Youth Action at the age of 14. And that nonprofit was geared to helping young people become more involved in their communities. So we organize social action projects and civic projects in the community that address various issues from healthcare to education to environmental justice to crime. And all of it was ran by students. And so that nonprofit is still around today, where we engage young people with funding as well as training to organize social action projects in the communities. And so for me, what you're doing today is something that I've always believed in, which is the idea that young people really should be involved in the civic process. And most importantly, I've always believed the fact that you should never be too shy to understand that your voice matters. And so thank you so much for having me today.
Go ahead.
All right.
Hi, I'm Haley. So my question is, what do you think is the most important issue in our city right now? And please mention if there's anything specific to District 9.
Thank you. So Haley, the most important issue in the city of Philadelphia right now is gun violence. It is impacting each one of us in a very disproportionate way. What absolutely has to happen is that we have to involve both city, state, and federal government to address gun violence, and particularly the next mayor of the city of Philadelphia will have a vital role in addressing this issue. And so my hope is that, together with city, state, and federal government, we can address gun violence. But in particular in District 9, what we're doing is that I am working closely with every police captain in the city, in our district, to identify some of the hot spots where there's always individuals that are hanging out or known for committing crime. And I've also been working closely with various nonprofit organizations that could be funded to give some of our young people outlets to have after school and rec programs, recreation center programs in our district, so folks can have things to do, like the youth action program that I started, because I believe that when you have a caring and loving adult in your community, it makes the world of a difference. So, and then also, what we've also been really focused on is this idea of community policing. Working closely with the captains, I have plans over the next months to find out how we can increase the number of officers in our district by knocking on doors, and also just finding ways for people to get more connected with police officers to address gun violence. But also the last thing I'll mention is that for a long-term plan, I really want to find ways to do this old pastor, great pastor. He's passed away. They call him the Lion of Zion. He was a pastor at Zion Baptist Church, Leon Sullivan. He was really involved with creating a job program in North Philadelphia that stretched throughout the entire city. And essentially, I think that we need to address poverty. And the way you address poverty is by making sure that there's an increased amount of jobs for folks so that they can have something to look forward to on Mondays and so forth. But I'm immensely involved. I want to be hands-on. I want to make sure that we are with families of victims of crime, where I'm going to be visiting folks who, have been victims of crime lately, and also just making sure that our neighborhood is doing town watches and so forth, which is important. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Haley.
Okay.
All right.
Second, who was second?
All right. Cuba.
Did you grow up in District 9? Oh, sorry. I'm Amina. I'm a constituent in District 2, and my two questions. My first one is, did you grow up in District 9?
I did. Well, I was raised over in District 5 area, I was in North Philadelphia, and then I moved to District 9 when I was about 10 or so, 11 years old. And now I've been a resident ever since. So I grew up in Northwest Philly. I love everything. My mom, quick story is that I was getting into a little trouble in North Philly, and my mom wanted to bring me to somewhere that would have greater opportunity for me and my sister and I. And so she's like, there's lawns, there are good schools out there, this would be better for you. So she sacrificed, worked 2 jobs so we can come up here to 19150, and I still live here today. My mom has since deceased when I was 21 years old. My grandmother was my second parent who raised me. They're both gone. And I decided to renovate the house, and I'm still living in the house that my mom brought for us. So yeah, good question. South Philly, Kenyatta Johnson.
My second question was, I know you spoke on gun violence
Yes.
throughout the city. What are you doing specifically to combat it in District 9?
Yeah, so as I just said earlier to Haley, the youth programs that I'm funding to support to kind of do prevention, because I think we got to do prevention. I think a lot of our teenagers, especially in the early 20s, 14, 15, 16, 17, they're doing some things that they shouldn't be doing. And so we got to make sure that, if I found that all the students that I've worked with, when they were in our program, they didn't get into all types of trouble because there was caring adults who were making sure they was staying out of trouble. Also, combating gun violence, we're going to be working on these town halls. I've just started, I'm the new guy, so I just started about 20 weeks ago or so. And we're starting these town watches. And basically what a town watch is that we're going to be making sure that every neighborhood has people that are looking out after each other. So we have a system where how we call the police, how we make sure people are home is safe, how we make sure that we're looking, we're oftentimes, sitting out our neighborhood, just looking out for issues. So that's going to be really important going forward. And then also in District 9 particularly, I got to work closely with the police captains. The police captains have to work with me in identifying some of these hot spots where crime is happening. And we got to always have a patrol officer in that particular area, and that's really important. And also, I'm very interested in the Community Police Initiative, also more surveillance with cameras, using cameras to kind of deter crime and also solve crime. But I also want to be very hands-on, and I've already been very hands-on with this process, and I'm looking forward to continue to be hands-on after this is all over.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, next question. Siani, come on up.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Siani. I'm from District 8.
Hi, Siani. She's from Germantown.
Logan.
Logan. Okay, yes. Okay, got you.
So my question is, what is your opinion of the arena in Chinatown?
Great. So this is an excellent question, and honestly, the decision we make is going to be really crucial in terms of like our city's future. I have yet to make a decision on the Chinatown proposed arena in Chinatown, only because all of the facts and details are not there as of yet. And honestly, there are people in Chinatown. I'm very concerned about displacement, so I will say that. I would not want to put Chinatown in a position where they are, going to be displaced. I want to make sure that residents there feel comfortable and that they feel like their Chinatown is protected and business is still open. The Sixers are very interested in making that happen, making sure that, but we don't know if they've made proposed plans that will allow for that to happen. And so I'm waiting to get more details. And as a public official, one of the things that I will always tell people that you never want to make a decision so quickly without talking to, one, the residents that you represent, which is the 9th district, and then number 2, without gathering all the facts. So I'm still looking to make a decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate you.
Do you want to ask your next question?
Haley again.
Haley.
So as a resident of District 9, that is where I experienced the majority of like an underfunded education. So my question to you is, do you believe underfunding is an issue in Philadelphia? And if so, how would you plan to address it?
It is indeed an issue in the city of Philadelphia. Many of you may know already that in the city of Philadelphia, we have the least amount of students, well, the least resources per student in the city of Philadelphia when it comes to funding. And that's unfortunate. The state of Pennsylvania just found it unconstitutional that in that regard and when it comes to funding. And so what we need to do is wholeheartedly advocate and make sure that the state and federal resources are giving us as much funding as possible. We at the city officials give the school district a good chunk of money every single year to the best of our ability, but it's not enough. And so what we need to do, honestly, I have every intention, regardless if funding is there or not, to make sure that our schools in District 9 are among the best in the nation. And I say that to say is because if you all study the history of people of African descent or the history of education when it comes to communities of color as well as low-income communities and so forth, there's always been historical underfunding, but that never stopped achievement. And so what we have to do is that we have to find ways to make sure that we are supporting our parents, we're supporting getting neighbors involved in our schools, and we're finding ways to make sure that there is, all the teachers have the resources they need to just get through that process, even if we have to find ways to get funding from the private sector as much as possible, because at the end of the day, our elementary schools, our local middle schools have to be excellent. Every student is not going to be able to go to Central High School, and we have to find a way to make sure that every local neighborhood school feels like a top-tier high school in the nation. And the way you do that is, one, I already have plans. We're gonna, whenever we don't have, like teachers need resources, such as, supplies and so forth. How can we work earnestly to develop a community fund with the private sector while we're waiting for public funding to make sure those resources are there? Number two, a lot of parents have to be really involved in their children's lives. How do we make sure that we have parent teams, and we're working on creating teams where we're going to be going out throughout the neighborhood to talk to parents, to engage them in their students' lives in the classroom, to make sure that, one, they understand what they need to do to get their kid ready for school, how they can help the student with homework help, how they can help them with behavior support, whatever that might be needed. We want to make sure that happens in our school system. And then lastly, we have a lot of great neighbors in the city of Philadelphia who are doctors and lawyers and beauticians and plumbers. A lot of them are not being mentors to our children. How do we make a lot of our neighbors in District 9, they want to be involved in McCluskey. They want to be involved with Pennypacker. They want to be involved with other schools in the district. However, they just don't have an outlet. So what we got to do is create a program and initiative that will allow neighbors to become mentors and support systems of all of the children. Statistics show that when neighbors are involved and parents are involved in schools, it makes a world of a difference. Because of my community background and nonprofit background, I have a niche on creating programs and initiatives that can actually see those things through. And I'm just getting started on it, and I can't wait to see it through.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haley. What's going on, March School's District?
My name is Ben.
Hey, Ben, good food in Fishtown, by the way.
Yeah, pretty good. My question is, how would you feel about implementing mental health curriculum in public schools to help combat the mental health epidemic in our youth?
Absolutely. So one thing's for sure, and I got to emphasize this, is that the school district of Philadelphia has to make sure that they are held accountable to taking any funding that we get from the city to make this possible. A lot of you, including myself, we all go through different issues. We don't know, and our homes maybe have abusive situations. Sometimes there may be times where there's issues when it comes to death in family or surrounding areas. Mental health is a huge issue in our country right now, and we got to make sure that every child has the support system, every student has the support system that they need to make that happen. So the way I envision it is that we should have multiple mental health counselors in our schools, and also we should always have that readily available for all students, and almost make it a thing that all students are encouraged to participate in, so that no one feels like they never got the support that they needed.
Yeah.
So. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, now before our final question, Amanda, does anyone have any sort of follow-up questions? Any other additional questions you want to ask, like what's it like being a council member? I'll ask that. What's it like being a council member? What's your day-to-day like?
Yeah, great question. So being on Philadelphia City Council is one of the most intense positions you can ever have in life. And I say that to say our day-to-day varies, because at the end of the day, there is, someone asks, when are you off? Never off, okay? I could say I'm gonna take a vacation for 2 days and I'm still on call. Because at the end of the day, education is still major in the city, crime is still major in the city. There are all types of things that are always happening, and you always are on top, always have to be on top of it. If you want to be a great council member, if you want to just be an okay council member, you can say I'm off, okay? But if you really fulfill the position of what it means, you're going to be on. So let me just try to take you through the week. So every Thursday we have session. That is when we introduce bills and legislation on City Council. Recently, I put together several pieces of legislation on City Council. One of them is called the Student Pedestrian Bill. This particular bill allows the Streets Department to more easily install speed bumps in front of every school in the city of Philadelphia, including Central, which will be getting theirs at some point. Because we have too many reckless drivers who are constantly putting you all in harm's way. And so we wanted to address that because a lot of neighbors and families and even students are concerned about that, and that's something that's important. So if you drive down Mount Pleasant Avenue near Hill Freeman, in our 9th district, the first school that received those speed bumps since that legislation was passed was Hill Freeman. So that work is happening. So I don't believe in bureaucracy. That's one thing. City council government in Philadelphia has a lot of bureaucracy, has a lot of red tape. I'm not used to that. I come from a nonprofit world where we find ways to get things done for students and families. Because as I told you all before City Council, I was a director of this organization called Teen Sharp, where we help students like yourself go to college for free, basically. Some of the best schools like UChicago, University of Washington, St. Louis, Howard, Hampton, you name it. We made it happen. And we didn't make excuses on anything. A student might have had straight C's their sophomore year. We found a way to get them straight A's by their junior year, right? Because at the end of the day, we got to make things happen for our city, and I believe that there's a lot of bureaucracy. Also, day to day, we have community meetings and events and programs. I'm briefed by staff members on different neighbors' concerns that are happening throughout the day. For example, you may get called, someone can call our office on Wadsworth Avenue and also in City Hall on issues around potholes, street repaving. There's also concerns where people want their SEPTA ID cards. There's also concerns people want speed bumps. And then also sometimes there's neighbor issues where people are fighting each other. And also policing issues. They call their council office, we have to respond. There's also times where there's press conferences around different issues such as education, climate change, you name it. That happens throughout the week too. We also have RCO meetings. So city council members are responsible for land use, district council use members in particular. So we get a chance to kind of decide on, how the land is used in our particular district if they're trying to make a change to what it was designated to be. So if a land was designated to be an apartment building and they're trying to make it into a 2-story home, I have to have a say in that. But also we engage RCO, which is the residential community organization, to kind of help us think through those. And then also we visit, I personally visit schools, I visit churches, I visit businesses. I want to make sure that I'm also doing neighborhood watch where I'm traveling across the neighborhoods to kind of get a better sense of what's happening in our neighborhood and what issues we're exploring, and so forth. So it's a very rigorous position, and often, and I'm very hands-on. So trying to get things done, takes a Herculean team, but we just got to stay up and get it done for the community.
Okay, we got one more question.
Hi, my name is Sarah and I'm in District 2. So my what are your dreams for a better Philadelphia? Like, what are your envisions?
It's great. Philadelphia. A better Philadelphia looks like a Philadelphia where crime is not as rampant. Our schools are the best, and we're not having trash everywhere. So what I envision to create a better Philadelphia is this idea of having 24-hour cleaning. I think it's really important that we find a way to keep our city as clean as possible, not just downtown, but every residential neighborhood. What unfortunately my grandmother always taught me the importance of cleaning your steps and washing your steps. Sharecropper from Marion, South Carolina. That's not the case right now, right? Where a lot of residents are okay with cleaning their steps. Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to find funding to have people clean their own neighborhoods, clean neighborhoods that they should be cleaning. And because it's just important that we kind of set that example. In addition to that, I think that I just have this understanding that our schools can be great. There's no reason why there shouldn't be AP classes in every school in the city of Philadelphia. That's not a funding issue. That is just a logical thing that just needs to be done. There should be training career programs for students who want to sport ed. We shouldn't just, what we have to do is give students, all of you, options when it comes to education. And then most importantly, behavior has to be excellent in every school in the city so teachers can teach. And until we find a way to get the mental health programs and also to make sure that we are involving parents, we won't get there. So that's why I'm advocating and creating programs to do mental health and also parenting. But ultimately, in crime, a better mayor can help us with, our next mayor can help us with that. And I think that's going to be really helpful with fighting crime in the city of Philadelphia. So ultimately, my vision for the city of Philadelphia is, one, let's not give up on our great city. We have a lot of great things that are happening between industries, restaurants, events, sporting programs, all that and more are happening in this great city. We just are in a tight pickle right now. We just got to keep people here, and we got to find a way to help folks understand that we can and we will get there, as long as we have council members as well as other public officials who are willing to understand that they are servants and they're not just these high-end folks who have a title. They also have to understand that they have to be hands-on, and we have to find a way to scrap and crawl to get things done for our community. So, a vision for a better Philadelphia is a community where things have systems and they're working, and laws and policies are being enforced. And that's actually one of my main objectives, to make sure that all of our laws and our policies are enforced, because we have a lot of great laws, we have got great policies, but they're not being enforced, which is why our city is not where it needs to be. So we're going to get there. Keep us in our prayer. Keep the city moving.
Thank you.
All right, good. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councilmember Phillips. Was there any last things you'd like to say before we end up?
Yeah, well, listen, I want to thank you for having me here today. What I do know is that prior to city council, me making a decision to run for city council, I did not want to be a politician. And the reason being is that I've always thought politics was murky. I thought times where people didn't get things done, and oftentimes you would hear the same lines and from folks, and you would never see anything happening. And for me personally, when Sherelle Parker had spoke to me about this, and she says, you know, Phillips, I want you to consider city council. And I had to talk to all the students I work with, I had to talk to my family, and I talked to a lot of my friends, and they said, you know what, you are the right, they said, you're the right person for this, because not only do you care, but you have a track record of service that is about excellence. And, I said, Councilwoman Parker, I said this to her when we first had this conversation about city council. She says, have you ever thought about city council? And I said, no. And I told her why. I said, politics is murky. And her response was more so like, Anthony, I also said politics is murky. Then I also said that I also feel like we need people in office that are going to help us get things done. And we have to find ways to have the community organizing more in government. I said oftentimes, you know, I know that me personally, I'm going to lose sleep because I know when there's an issue in our community, I'm not going to just go to sleep and be like, okay, do whatever I need to do, make a headline and look good the next day. I'm going to want to see it through, and I'm going to want to see it done. And I said my track record has always said that. Like, I want to make sure that excellence is in our community. You know, and Cheryl Parker's response was, and that's exactly why I think you should do this. And, you know, through prayer, I decided that, you know what, Phillips, let me lose all of the sleep, the privacy that I had, and also just the idea of, like, now I'm going to take a huge sacrifice for our community to get things done and work collaboratively with our community to address issues. So I say that to say to you all, do not give up on government. Do not give up on politics. Do not ever think that things cannot be changed, because a lot of times bad elected officials are elected by are voted or get in office because good people don't vote and good people are not engaged. If you're engaged in this process, you will get good results. And you have to have the mindset that, like, I have a voice, and I have a voice that matters. If you're walking down the street and you're scared, if you're not happy about your schools, if you're not happy about the trash that's going on, if you can't find particular jobs and opportunities, it's because government has a responsibility and it has to work for you. And if it's not working for you, it's because you're not getting yourself engaged, or you're not getting other people engaged. And because I'm telling you, the more fire you put on people to do work, the better results it will get. And honestly, I would do this job for free because I love the heck out of it. But I know a lot of people are not into that. They like the power, they like the prestige, and they like the perks that come with this position. But the people that you bring in office has to have a love for service, and they have to have a commitment and dedication to this. So at the end of the day, I'm now sharing my story, telling people all these things that I've done, which I'm not used to. But I'm doing that now because I want folks to understand that, you know, Anthony Phillips is a servant. He's a councilman by title and profession. But at the end of the day, I'm here to serve people, and I want folks to know Anthony Phillips is a 9th District servant. So I say thank y'all. Keep being engaged. Keep inspiring others. And do well. Get straight A's. Straight A's will get you into all of the colleges you can imagine, as well as going to school for debt-free honors and AP classes. All right, that's it.
Thank you, students, Central High students, social science class, seniors, class of 2023. Thanks, School District Philadelphia. Thanks, Committee of 70. Thanks, PA Youth for putting this all together.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Thank you.
Sure thing.